Hi, my name's Cathy. This is my April reading journal for Lunar Bird Book Club. Hello there! Today is the start of the Easter holidays for me. I have got the next week off work. Palm Sunday is tomorrow. The sun is out, so I thought I'd come out into the garden to film this update amongst my daffodils, which my little daffodil grove makes me so happy every spring, and I feel like today it looks particularly nice, so it's nice to be out here. Every September I plant a few more daffodil bulbs in this patch, and then I love seeing which ones are going to make it and come up in spring, and it always makes me happy. So today is Saturday the 12th of April. I have finished one book so far this month, and that has been Crossing Over by Scanlon. So this is a book that was published in 2003. It's one I've had for many years. In fact, this was originally my dad's book and I stole it at some point. And I really wanted to revisit it. So Crossing Over is a Christian book, and it is about leading your church and your life through big change to kind of reach the life that God has for you. So it's really about that. It's about seeking positive change and being brave and risk-taking, and just some really good teaching around that. And I've been really encouraged to revisit it. This book was written by a pastor who had led his church from being quite a comfortable mid-sized church to very rapidly growing to a huge church in just a couple of years. And his story was so interesting, and this book in particular was so influential, that when I first became aware of it, it kind of inspired me to take a gap year in between my studies and working, and I did the leadership academy that was at this guy's church, which was like a year-long leadership course about running church and, you know, being a Christian, and it was really, really good. But it also was where Rob was, and Rob and I met whilst on that course. We didn't date that year at all, but a few years later our paths crossed again and we started dating, and now we've been married for over 10 years. So this book worked out very well for me. And yeah, revisiting it again this month, I feel, has given me a real boost. It's funny with, you know, either Christian books or self-help books or books about philosophy or changing your life. When people read a book that really works for them, they can get a bit, I don't know, cringy or too much about it, like, this book will change your life, this book will do this for you. And I'm in danger of doing that for this book, except I don't believe this book will change your life. I just believe that it really changes mine for the better. I don't really feel like this is a book for everyone, but it is a book for me. And I feel like the lessons that are in here are particularly relevant to what I want to achieve and what I want to do. And it's a great encouragement. I think some of the big lessons in here, there's one chapter in here about not being people possessed, which is where it's kind of about not being a people pleaser to the point where you surrender what you want to do and what you want to achieve, and being so consumed with other people's expectations. And that's a really helpful chapter for me. So yeah, I've really enjoyed rereading this, and I'm still very grateful for its teaching and for the fact that it led me to Rob. All good things. I've unexpectedly picked up another book this month. My mum and I went out for lunch one day, and we went to Booths in Barford, which is one of my favourite places because they have the best soup. So we went out, we had soup, and they had this little table out near the cafe entrance that was full of books. They had like this little charity bookstall going on. So I had a look through, and I ended up picking up Rip Van Winkle by Washington Irving, obviously part of the children's classic series. I'd read, not this last Christmas, but the Christmas before that, one of his short stories about Christmas. It's called The Christmas Dinner, and the writing in that was so beautiful. So seeing his name on this table of books grabbed my attention. So this is a collection of kind of like fairy folk tales by Washington Irving. I mean, apparently written for children, but I tell you, I've already read like the first couple of these, and the language in here is quite sophisticated. So yeah, I picked this up kind of on a whim, and I've started reading it. About halfway through, so yeah, I've read 2.5 of the stories in here, and man, they're good. This is really good folk story telling, and I'm really enjoying it. And I feel like Rip Van Winkle, the name kind of rings a bell as if I do know about it, but reading the whole tale, I had not read this before. Oh, and also in here is The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which I don't think I'd realised had been written by Washington Irving. So I'm really intrigued to read the original version of that. I've seen the film with Johnny Depp in, but I've never read the actual tale. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm really enjoying reading this so far. I love a good folk story. I love its humour, I love its rhythms, and the strange magic that kind of is imbued into our real lives and our real histories. And the first story in this, Rip Van Winkle, was hilarious. It's about a man who throughout his life has shirked his responsibilities at home. He'll always help his friends and neighbours with whatever business they have, but has no intention to sort out his own business. Won't farm his land, won't do his housework, is nagged continuously by his wife. And on one day, whilst he is avoiding his responsibilities by hunting in the forest, he comes across some fae-like creatures and ends up having to serve them drinks at their parties. And in the end, he takes a sip of the drink, and then a bit more, and then a bit more. And then he wakes up the next morning to find out that he has slept not just one night, but for like 50 years, and goes back to his village and realises that he is a little old man and the whole village has moved on. But it works out for him because now at long last he's completely entitled to sit around and do nothing and while away his days in idleness, just like he always wanted to. So yeah, it's quite a funny tale, very well told, and I'm enjoying reading that. The other book thing I've got going on is I have been watching season 3 of The Wheel of Time, and my goodness, has that show drastically improved this season. Honestly, I only started watching season 3 so we could review it for the channel, which I'm sure we'll do at some point. But left to my own devices, I probably would have given up on it. I just didn't really enjoy the first 2 seasons that much. Season 2 a bit more than season 1, but not really enough to make me want to continue watching it. But man, this last season has just been excellent television in its own right, and I've really enjoyed it. And in fact, I've enjoyed it so much that I have now downloaded the audiobook for Eye of the World, the first book in the Wheel of Time series, and that's really made me laugh because I have enjoyed reading Wheel of Time. I did it because Rachel kind of got me into it, and even as I was reading it through, I just thought that this is a good story, but I don't see myself ever going back and rereading it. Like, there's good bits, but there's slow bits, you know, and it is a mammoth task with 14 really long books. So I just thought this was like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I was going to read Wheel of Time and then move on. And now watching season 3 of the show has made me go, I kind of just want to go back to it. I just want to go back to the Wheel of Time world and spend some time there and be with the characters again and experience this story. So now I'm listening to Eye of the World on audiobook. I'm only in like I've done the prologue, I'm in like the first chapter, and I'm already really enjoying it. I'm already picking up so much more on this listen through than I did when I first read it. And it's actually quite fun to go back and read it once I actually know some of the stuff that they're talking about the power and the breaking of the world and the prophecies. Knowing where it goes and who these characters are, reading it again, I feel like it's going to be actually a much richer experience. And I'm having a really good start to my reading month. And like I say, so today is the Saturday before Palm Sunday. So yeah, plans for the rest of today are that Orla and I are going to decorate the house for Easter a little bit. We have a few decorations in the cupboard. I want to kind of give the house a spring clean so that we can enjoy the rest of the week in kind of like a relaxed state, get ready for some relaxation. Okay, I've pulled out all of our spring Easter decorations for Orla and I to put about. I'm going to go in the garden and see if I can find some nice branches to make an Easter tree. I also want to show you what's in here because tomorrow at church we're going to teach the children about Easter Sunday, even though that's next week we teach them week in advance, and we're going to have like a big celebration party. So Orla has been so busy.
I blew up 50 balloons all by myself.
Orla blew up 50 balloons all by herself this morning. We got these from Home Bargains and I was like, I'll blow them up later, and then I went to do some bits and Orla just started and you just didn't stop.
Yeah. I only had one break halfway through when I got a snack.
So we're all ready to have a praise party tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which I think shall be lots of fun. Okay, I managed to get some branches of pear blossom.
I'm just hanging stuff up. I'm hanging up the chickens first.
There's some little decorations.
How do I fit that around? There we go.
We have to have an Easter scene here that Orla has set up. Okay, Orla's finished decorating the Easter tree and I think it looks amazing. She's decided to group together the ornaments by colour. So all the blue are together and all the pink.
Hello.
Hey, just showing off how good a job you've done. And then you set up a little display at the bottom of some of our Easter decorations and chicks.
And I've done a thing where there's at least 2 chicks in each room downstairs.
Yes. There's also hidden chicks all around the house in different places.
Yeah, and look at this one.
Oh, okay, I'll show. Like, for example, there's one here behind the cross. And I think Orla's worked so hard that she now deserves a little Easter treat. Do you want a cupcake?
Yes.
Which one do you want?
This one.
That one? Okay. Hello, it is now the 15th of April. I have now finished Washington Irving's Rip Van Winkle. I really enjoyed this collection of folk tales. It was a lot of fun. I read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and was quite surprised to find it's not that scary a story, and if anything it's more of a comedic tale than a horror one. But that's part of the fun of stumbling upon the origins of classic tales. Often they're not what you expect at all, and it's just funny how stories evolve and change in the retelling of them. So yeah, finished that. Very enjoyable, very witty, very sophisticated writing. I'm still wondering who is the child who would get on very well with this book, because myself as a child, I would definitely have struggled to follow this because the language is just so sophisticated and the humour is so dry, and it's got quite a lot of social commentary in there, especially about like manners and conduct and people whose ego is far too inflated and needs to be brought down a peg or two. So the themes are a bit sophisticated for children, I would say, but it is still a very enjoyable book and I'm glad that I have read it. So I think the next book I'm going to read is The Architect's Apprentice, which has been on my TBR since September, October, and it is time to read this and give it a go. And I am still listening to Eye of the World by Robert Jordan and thoroughly enjoy myself by listening to that. This series I think is going to be so much more enjoyable as a read through compared to the first time, because this time reading it I'm not having to learn the lore at the same time. I already know a lot about this world and it means that you're just so much more immersed in the story. So I'm really enjoying it. Hello, it is now the 1st of May and I need to give you an update of where I got with my reading.
Oh yeah!
Oh yeah, Orla says. I started The Architect's Apprentice, read about 20 pages and decided I didn't like it and gave up. It was a little bit too earnest and deep and meaningful for my taste right now, so I've just put it aside. So then I turned to Cornish horrors, Tales from the Land's End. So this, I think I got it as a birthday present or maybe a Christmas present, and I have only one story left to read in this collection and I have really, really enjoyed it. So this is a collection of stories, ghostly stories, horror stories, folk stories, all set in Cornwall and kind of written between the late 1800s to about 1910. I think the last one's written in 1913. And I've really, really enjoyed this. One of these I've read before, The Screaming Skull, and it was definitely just as scary the second time round reading it. And I love this kind of anthology and I've really, really enjoyed it and I'll probably finish it tonight. And the only other thing I've been reading is I've been listening to The Eye of the World from The Wheel of Time, the first book in that series. I've been listening to it at every available moment because I am so enjoying it on this read through. And honestly, every chance I get, I'm turning that audiobook on. I have about 3 hours left. And it's just amazing. It's just so nice to be back in this world and back with these characters and understanding a lot more about who everybody is this time round, and even like side characters that I've been introduced to. I think the first time round I just couldn't keep track of everybody, and now I'm so excited when they're on the page because I know what's coming. So that's been really, really good too. So I've had a really good time reading in April, and I've got high hopes for May. I have very few books on my TBR now. I think I just have my Doomsday book series on there, so I have no idea what I'm going to read this next month, which is exciting. Yeah, so that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've had a great reading month too, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Bye!
It's been a while since I've read a good collection of book tales and fairy tales. No, it's not. I read one in January. Which one? You know that one? Okay. I've got 3 hands.